Welcome back to another episode of The Cars That Move Us. Today we are going to talk about a car that screams freedom almost as loud as William Wallace does from Braveheart. So today we're going to talk about the Willys Overland MB, or as we all know it, the OG Jeep. Let's get into it. Okay, so back in the 40s, war was on the horizon, and the Army sent out a commission to 150 different companies to build a light reconnaissance vehicle, kind of a go anywhere, do anything kind of vehicle. And so there were two companies that responded, one of them being Willys Overland, and then one also being American Bantman. If you haven't heard of them, it's okay. They mostly just supplied military vehicles. So they submitted their prototypes. Bantman had a better design. Willys had a better running gear plus manufacturing capabilities. So they merged their designs. Willys modified the Bantman and went with that until Willys kind of won the bid. But Willys didn't even have all the production manufacturing capabilities that they needed. So they enlisted Ford because Henry Ford was good at producing. He did a really good job. Anyway, so Ford and Willys Overland teamed up to make this light reconnaissance vehicle. So Ford ended up making about 280,000 of them, designated the Ford GP, and Willys made 360,000 of them, designated the Willys MB. MB standing for Military Model B, and the GP standing for just general purpose. And so it wasn't even a Jeep at the beginning. It was a Willys MB or a Ford GP. When it got into the field, the military, as they do, they're really good at making nicknames and acronyms and other things for these things. And so it just commonly became known as the Jeep. So whether it was a Ford or a Willys, it was a Jeep. And Jeep or Willys finally trademarked the Jeep name like in the 50s after the war. So that's kind of a fun little fact. So the Jeep, or the GP, or the MB, was asked to do almost everything from troop transport to ambulance to, what do they have it do? Lane cable. They had it as a sawmill. So it had a PTO, or a power takeoff, similar to a tractor. And so they would use that to power like a sawmill or a water pump or various other things. They were even, you change the wheels on it and it can run on railroad tracks. And so it literally was asked to do everything. And General Dwight D. Eisenhower would use it when he was going and checking on the troops and checking how things were going, as he was the commander of the Allied forces and later became president. And it literally did everything for the military. One war reporter, his name was Ernie Pyle, he said, "It did everything, it went everywhere. It was faithful as a dog, as strong as a mule, and as agile as a goat. It constantly carried twice what it was designed for, and still kept going." Like it did everything. Like it became its own little soldier within the war. It became a soldier's second best friend next to his rifle, kind of a thing. And Dwight D. Eisenhower even said that the Jeep, the Dakota, which was a medium bomber, and the landing craft were the three tools that won the war for the Allies. So heavy praise for this thing. It just did everything. It went everywhere. Another general, George C. Marshall, U.S. Army Chief, of Staff during World War II, later became Secretary of State. He described the Jeep as America's greatest contribution to modern warfare. So fantastic praise for this little thing. And one fun story. So it was involved in many beach landings as they were going through the Pacific, right, on their way to Japan. And this one Jeep, nicknamed Old Faithful, it was a part of a lot of these landing parties. It was the first one off the landing craft in several different island campaigns. And it was actually like wounded in one of the campaigns from Japanese shelling. And so it took a couple of big shrapnel hits through it and just kept going. And so with that, the Marines that were with it, they thought it deserved the Purple Heart. So it was the very first automobile to receive the Purple Heart. After 18 months of service, it was sent home wounded, and it was in a couple of different museums, so that's fun. But you can see why this Willys Overland just screams freedom, right? Like Mel Gibson on the table, just screaming freedom. And it was that symbol for so many of these GIs, so many of these general infantry, or just soldiers or officers. Everybody had a Jeep, everybody had a memory of a Jeep, and it cemented that emotional connection, right, with freedom and with winning the war. And so it was easy to see the transition. And as the war ended, all these GIs are coming back. They've got a little bit of time, a little bit of money, and they're finding these surplus Jeeps coming up on auctions. And so they buy them real cheap. And then they're able to take those and continue that call for freedom, right? But they're not going out and battling. They're not fighting. They're not carrying that literal freedom. But it enabled them to get out and about. It was such a well-built, robust little machine that it could take you anywhere. You didn't even need roads. It would go through it. It had the quad system, the four-wheel drive system, and you could literally just go anywhere. And what is more freedom-inspiring than having no walls, right? No limitations. You just go. And that's what the Jeep became for these returning GIs. So Jeep, seeing this, or Willys Overland, sorry, Willys saw this, and they actually made their first civilian Jeep after the war, and they named it the CJ, or Civilian Jeep. So the CJ2A was the first civilian Jeep, and it was basically identical to the MB, little tweaks here and there, but it was actually marketed as a farm implement. According to Jeep marketing, they said that there were 5.5 million farmers at the time, and 4 million of them had neither tractor nor truck. And so their goal was to get this Jeep into the hand of those farmers, so that way they can use its versatility out on the farm to do everything it did for the Army. And it was great. And so like it initially wasn't marketed as a go anywhere, escape for freedom kind of a tool. It was literally marketed as a tool. But, inventive GIs with the time and energy that they had, they turned it into something that would go out and explore America. Jeep clubs soon started popping up, that they could go camping and go find these trails. The harder, the better. And, like we often do, like, oh, there's a wall. I wonder if I can climb that in my truck. And then if he couldn't do it, I bet my buddy could. Or, the constant one-upping that is common with us as humans. And so that continued this desire for exploration, this desire to go out, find new things, find new roads, find new paths. And Jeep continues to be that for so many people these days. And so just as the Jeep, won the war, to give it all that credit, and just as the Jeep helped those GIs explore the wild America, it serves as a good reminder for us to look for opportunities to think outside the box, right? To seek freedom from work, freedom from, obligations, freedom from the stresses and such of life. And there's a whole big, beautiful world out there just waiting to be explored. And, there's nothing holding us back. We can go, we can explore, we can find that freedom that we are looking for. And it's important to take time for that. All too often we get, stuck in the everyday, that we don't slow down, right? We don't go get into wilderness. We don't go enjoy a sunrise over a mountain. So it's a good reminder to us to go find that freedom, go find that endless sky. So yeah, the Jeep became this symbol of freedom, right? Freedom to roam, freedom to go wherever you want, freedom to explore. And it allowed people to to venture outside their comfort zone and to see new things and to just go anywhere, right? So what's the moral of this story today? Like, we all seek that freedom, right? We may not be on literal battlefields, but we've got day-to-day stresses, we've got things weighing us down, we've got things that really just suck the fun out of life. And sometimes you need that freedom, right? That freedom to just go. And Jeep becomes that awesome reminder that you can just go, you can explore, you can find the beauty in nature. It's interesting that the Jeep was designed as a tool, right? Tool for the Army to win a war, marketed as a tool for farmers, and it was very capable. It could do all those things. But what did we turn it into? We turned it into this thing that could pursue pleasure, could pursue joy, could explore and have fun, right? And so often, like, life can give you something that could be a chore, could be, something not fun, but you can flip it on its head. You can flip that script and you can use it as a tool to your freedom. And so, yeah, just let this serve as a reminder to go out, explore, to not take life so seriously, and to have fun, to answer the call of freedom and just get out there. You don't need a Jeep to do it. It does help, but you don't need it. Just go out, go explore, go find that freedom so you can feel free. So thank you for tuning in today, and tune in next time as we talk about the Lamborghini Countach, symbol of opulence and excess in the 90s that served for me as inspiration that quite literally anything is possible. So we'll see you next time.